Steve Tan, welcome to Fargo Talks.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is my first ever remote episode of Fargo Talks. So tell everybody where you're at, first of all.
I'm actually from Singapore, but currently I'm in Bangkok doing the podcast because there's really not a lot of amazing studios in Asia. So yeah, here I am.
I'm surprised. Okay. And I've never been to Bangkok. I hear it's wonderful. It's on my bucket list of my wife and I to go visit sometime. So
it's definitely good. You should check it out.
I definitely will. So I wish that we were together under better circumstances, but first, I want to thank Baller Busters for putting us together. You have a pending lawsuit that we're going to talk about, and it's something that people need to know. And so, if anything, Fargo Talks is really acting as a conduit, for you for the charges that have been levied against somebody. That we're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into your backstory about what happened. A lot of people globally know you and your brother and ecom, and so this is really just a platform where it's no holds barred. It's going to be but you coming off with no filters, just letting people know and kind of setting the record straight is the platform that we're going to be providing here for you today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Just want to share that, I know it's a Sunday for you, so I really appreciate your time on taking time off, to do the podcast on a Sunday for you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It's, this is a global platform. And so if it has to be a Sunday at 5:00 at night, so be it. It's a late date night for my wife and I. She's in the engineering suite right now. So it's all,
nice.
It's all good. It's all good. So I want to start off with setting some context, Steve, about who you are, what you came from, what your brother and you built, before we talk about Luke and the charges that have been levied against him.
For sure. I'm more than happy to do so. So my name is Steve Tan. I've been in the e-commerce game since 2006, starting with selling apparels and merchandise on actually eBay as a broke student from college, right? So when I started doing eBay, I realized that I could make good money. So during my eBay days, I really started making around 10K months, which is not a lot, to be honest, but it was a lot of money as a broke college student. So that really inspired me to kind of decided to drop out from college and pursue entrepreneurship full time, right? So after that, my first big breakthrough was 2008 when I started discovering Facebook ads, right? So I started having my first 6-figure months and subsequently became one of the probably bigger Facebook ads advertiser during those days, right? So things were going pretty well, but I think, I'm still not very experienced in the entrepreneurship space, but I really wanted to pursue something called the American dream, right? You want to create a startup and raise funds and all whatnot. So I built a few hardware startups. Unfortunately, those failed. Back-to-back two failed startups actually destroyed everything that I've made across those years. So in 2015, I lost everything. Pretty much went back all the way to zero, bankrupt, right? But in 2016, by luck, I came across again e-commerce dropshipping, right? So in my early days of e-commerce, it was kind of in a form dropshipping, but dropshipping wasn't even popular back in those days. So in 2016, going back to dropshipping with all the resources, with all the experience that we have done in the past, right? We were able to, luckily, right? And of course, with the right resources and experience, did our first 7-figure month within the first 30 days of getting back into e-commerce, right? So that quickly built up our cash flow in 2016, right? And I think we were better well known in the space during then because we were actively sharing a lot of value in Facebook groups. And subsequently, we started creating our own Facebook group called Ecom Elites Mastermind, which is it subsequently grew with no marketing at all, purely word of mouth, through people sharing. And we built it up to about 100,000 organic free members in the Facebook group. And I think we're probably most well known for our 360,000 revenue day, right? So when we started posting 360,000 back in 2000, I think 17 or 18, right? People were like, what the fuck, right? Are these guys legit? How could you possibly do $360,000 days back in those days, right? And we started sharing 8-figure stores, across, some of our dropshipping stores, and that really inspired a lot of people. Right, it showed people what is possible, because nowadays, there's a lot of brands, even dropshipping stores, crushing those numbers if they're doing really well. And subsequently, we also kind of launched softwares. One of the better, more known softwares that we launched in the space was called Intercart. Right. So in probably around 2 years, it's a software. It's a one-page checkout software that helps business owners or ecom entrepreneurs to increase their conversions during the checkout. So no marketing, nothing, purely just from the Facebook group. We onboarded a lot of really successful e-commerce entrepreneurs onto our software, and we were able to generate over $1 billion for our merchants in less than 2 years. Right? We grew so fast that we got terminated by Shopify, right? Because we're kind of competing with them in such a way. But that's a story for another day. But I think those are kind of like my days. Nowadays, I do not do any direct to consumer DTC e-commerce stores anymore. I'm more focused on service-oriented e-commerce businesses. For example, I still own a fulfillment company in China that we help people source, pick, pack, ship, brands, drop shipping, or whichever. On average, we're doing about 20 to 40,000 daily orders right now. It's not a small operation. We have about close to 600 people on the team that handles everything. So I'm very blessed. I have a really good partner in China that helps settle all the operational, the management of all the people. Right? We have multiple warehouses across China, in Shenzhen, and also in Hangzhou, which is kind of our headquarters. Right. I also own an email marketing agency where we service successful brands, and we help all these brand owners take care of everything email marketing. So our agency has about close to 100 people, right? Also managed by my partners from Singapore, right? And I think we have generated over $300 million in email revenue for our clients. So that's kind of on the side when I'm still doing e-commerce stuff. But nowadays, I'm just kind of probably 1 year ago, I was focused on Capital Club with my brother. We're kind of full-time in it, trying to build the largest entrepreneurial network around the world. So that's kind of a long TLDR about my background and who I am.
Okay. So let's bring it up a little bit, closer. When and how did Luke Belmar come into your world?
So I think it was in the middle, June 2018. It was really clear because I just recently checked it out. He messaged me and my brother, right, and tried to offer probably IG brand services. I was pretty okay in e-commerce, I would say, but I'm not really good at brand building. Right. I didn't really know about the social media platforms back then. I know in IG, of course, but I didn't know, how do I build my personal brand on Instagram? So Luke messaged me hey, Steve, let's make you the so-and-so of the e-commerce industry. Right. And I was like, okay, this young chap seems to know what he's talking about. Right. And that's kind of when we first got in touch through Facebook. And I still have that screenshot, to be honest, right? So looking back, it's kind of time flies. It's really probably 2008 till now, already 7 years that we have known each other.
And when did you first meet, and what were your impressions of him at that first meeting?
In the first meeting, I would say I have encountered someone that's very, very hungry, right? Someone that's of a hustler, someone that's passionate and a very charismatic, smooth talker. I think in a sense that he's charismatic in some ways, and he's very good at articulating his thoughts and also being able to make himself look pretty smart, right? So that was kind of how I felt, oh, wow, this guy is interesting, right? So during the first few conversations, it felt oh, this guy seems like someone that has potential, when I first met him.
What was it that he did that let you give him access to a extremely credible, powerful mastermind group?
I think, during my masterminds, I'm pretty well known in my industry for giving out scholarships for people that don't really have the money, right? So I usually have a minimum of people that's doing at least 7 figures a year to be able to participate my masterminds, right? So people that are coming to the masterminds are of a certain caliber, right? They have done certain numbers, and many of them are probably in the range of 8 figures a year, right? So I think with his smooth talk, right, and he managed to convince me like, hey, like I can bring you a lot of value. You need help with your personal branding, right? So out of the 4 people like that I had at that mastermind at the point of time, which was probably in the early 2019, when Luke first came to my Phuket mastermind, which I host probably once or twice a year. So he was invited as a scholar, which means he paid $0 to come to my mastermind at the point of time.
At what level do you think his sincerity was at that time? Do you think that he was sincere at at what he was bringing to the table in terms of the value proposition?
I think I would say I don't know sufficient at the point of time to understand whether or not his value is coming, because I was kind of just, oh, more followers, great. That's working. Whatever he's talking, whatever he's pitching me, it's working, right? But like having been in this space for so long, now I realize you can actually just buy bots for your followers, right? There's like social media panels that you can buy from, but I don't know entirely anything about that industry at that point of time. And like with his smooth talking and his charismatic ways of articulating, I was like, oh wow, this guy really knows his stuff, right? So I felt he brought value for me, like how do I build my brand and whatnot at the point of time. But eventually, I realized it's just so.
Well, and let's keep everyone reminded. You had started and failed 2 ventures before this even took place, correct?
I think I failed so much that I can't count, honestly, right? That two honestly was just like painful because it really brought me to my knees, right? It was so hard to kind of go through. But I guess that's part of life, right? I mean, entrepreneurship, it's never easy, right? Something that I always say in my sharings, like in Asia, we kind of say like you really need to be hustling so hard. The hustler mindset in Asia is really, really ingrained into like people's mindset. And I was telling people like, if you don't have the intention to really go all in, don't become an entrepreneur because it's really, really hard to be successful, right? So that's what I always preach on my podcast.
So what? Tell me then. You have this hustle mindset. You've taken your body blows. You've gotten knocked down, but never knocked out. You keep getting up and you keep pushing forward. What did Luke Belmar do specifically to earn your trust?
I think he's very smart, right? I'm someone that I don't really let people into my personal lives easily, right? I have a extremely one of the few highest values that I have in life is integrity, brotherhood, friendship, and kindness. Those are kind of like my values that I protect very hard. So he knows that, and he knows that I've been betrayed before. I've been backstabbed by my partners before. So he knows exactly where are my hot spots that he needs to press, right? So he'll always say like he'll love bomb me, right? He was like, "Oh, love you, bro," and I would never say love you back because it's not in the kind of like the Asian culture to always put love you within your text or whichever, right? But I think eventually he kept on doing it. Like, oh, Steve is my brother. Like he always kicks my ass. Like I still have all those screenshots, all those comments, right? Name dropping me all over the place in the ecom industry. And eventually I was like, oh, like it seems like a person that I actually can, deepen my relationship, right? And, when I met him in person, he's very good at one-on-ones. I'm not gonna lie. Like he's mastered his craft in public speaking. He knows what to say, right? Probably now it's a little bit more fluffy, right? A lot more things that's like you can't really piece back together. But in the early days, I think he's probably a little bit more humble, I would say. More humble, more grounded, listens to me. I've told him like, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But in the early days, it's kind of like that. So that's kind of like how he slowly maneuvered his way through love bombing me, through giving me value, through sharing with me his values, which I honestly feel is like pretty aligned at the point of time, right? But definitely, it's kind of like before you get into a relationship with a girlfriend, you don't really know the true self until you're like sharing the same bed or in a honeymoon period, right? So that's kind of like how he got into my life and how he earned our trust. He was even invited to my brother's wedding. Like his wife and himself were guests, which is like a very, very private like wedding held in Singapore with only a certain number of people that's attending. So that's how close he were with us and how much trust was given to him.
Was your brother's wedding straight out of Crazy Rich Asians?
I would say so. Yeah. Like it's held it's like there's honestly nothing to like brag about here, but like in Asia, like weddings are like one of the most important like ceremonies, because that's when your parents is able to kind of like finally tell all their friends like, hey, my son's getting married, please come to the wedding, right? So like my brother is pretty cool, and like in his wedding we actually had like an EDC party immediately after his like proper serious ceremony, right? So all the parents would leave and all our friends would be there, and we had a party till like 2 3 a.m. and we had a great time. Yeah, that's kind of like how we roll in Asia. And yeah, it was a great time, and I'm so super honored to be my brother's best man. I was able to share my gratitude and my speech for him.
That is an Asian high key flex. That's fantastic.
You.
You're welcome. So let's talk about Capital Club, and what prompted you and your brother to start Capital Club with Luke?
I mean, when I was starting out, Jeff, it's honestly really hard, right? As a matter of fact, when I started, I always envisioned that life would be so much easier if I have a mentor. I have someone that I can speak to, or I have a community I can kind of like talk to. Because when I started out in 2006, there was no online communities. There was like just forums, right? You don't really know who's legit. You don't really know like who to ask advice from. It's not as convenient as right now. You have Facebook groups, you have all these different communities that you can join, right? So when Luke came to us, it's like, hey, like let's build the world's largest entrepreneurial community to have a massive impact to people who are starting out, or people who are on this journey of entrepreneurship. That kind of like moved me, right? Because I've always been wanting to build something that's bigger than myself, right? Money's great for sure. Money's great in all my other businesses. And so I figured, oh wow, like I have all my businesses figured out. Like, I have my fulfillment business that's doing crushing it. I have my education. At the point of time, I still have education. I still have software. So I have like a couple of businesses that's kind of crushing, right? I sold a few after COVID because I don't really feel very fulfilled on some businesses. And then I think at the point when like Luke came in was right before I parted ways with a really toxic personal relationship with my ex-girlfriend, right? So pretty much the same kind of type of like narcissist in some ways, kind of back to back. So yeah, but to answer your question, like the vision was what sold us to create Capital Club with Luke Belmar.
When did you start noticing that the mission of Capital Club was shifting?
I started noticing when his fame, it's kind of like my friend kind of joke, it's kind of like the ego curve, right? Like as the fame and the views starts coming in, we realize no more Sensei Steve Tan, right? No more Sensei. It's like, oh, like it's all about him. So initially it's still okay. Like, partnerships are never easy, right? It's kind of like he's kind of like your husband, your wife, in business, right? So, I mean, I've been through a lot in life to really understand that it takes a lot of patience to make a great partnership, right? Because I have really great partners across my other businesses. So I thought like it may be just kind of like a false red flag, right? But as we realized, like the first billion views came in, a lot of things starts changing. Yeah.
Interesting. When was there a clear turning point that you realized that ego really took over the original vision?
I think the turning point was when he felt that he's the hot shit, right? He's the one that actually made it all work. I'm not gonna be noble and just be on this podcast and say, oh, we built up Luke entirely. No, I think that's unfair to say so. But me and my brother played a critical part in the success of building up Luke Belmar in the process, right? So I think in light of all this, I think it's just multiple things start stacking up, and we started seeing a lot more red flags. So for example, one of them was, like we're supposed to. So his pitch to me was like, Capital Club is his life. He's going to be doing this for the rest of his life, and he's not going to be distracted. This is the one and only thing that we're going to do, right? If there's any other opportunities that's going to arise, it's all going to be housed under the holding company, which is Capital Club. Makes sense, right? I mean, that's natural business principles. So I thought, okay, that's great. So, but when we realized, like, I started sharing with him more ideas. I've been through, I go to a lot of masterminds. I have a really good network of entrepreneur friends around me, including billionaires, right? So I usually get a lot of great ideas on how can we scale the business, this company. So one day I was sharing with him like an amazing idea about how we can run our masterminds. And he decided to kind of like just do it himself with his own time. And he started prioritizing his own time over me and my brother's time, right? So he would say things like, oh, I'm free to do whatever things I want in my own personal time, yet you guys can't do it. Only he can do it. Right. So I was like, it doesn't make sense. Right. So for example, like he wants to launch his own like one-on-ones, masterminds, coaching calls. Right. And he was like, oh, like Capital Club is going to get 10%. I was like, why are we moving your goalposts? Like, if we're going to do everything together, it should be all house. He said, no, like he said, oh, you're lucky that you guys get 10%. Right. So that was kind of like our first debate. Right. And I probably was kind of triggered at the point of time. And I wasn't really skilled in negotiating with him, and it kind of spiral out of like a place for a while. But at the point of time, I kind of felt like grounded, and I felt sorry kind of like with arguing with him, because I thought like, fuck, what if Luke kicks us out? Like all this effort. So we kind of felt insecure for a period of time. So when you felt insecure in the partnership, because like everything is under his name in the US, right? At the point of time, I think we haven't had the Hong Kong company, right? So everything is under his name, like out of trust, based 100% out of trust, right? So my brother was saying like, hey, why do you want to like, like go so hard on Luke, right? Like, what if he kicks us out, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, probably I should take a step back, right? So that's kind of like when the first big red flag starts happening. And I was like, oh, so because I challenged him, I was like, so your time is valuable and me and my brother's time is not valuable, right? And he expects me and my brother to drop everything, including our business, to work on Capital Club full time. Yet he has the freedom to do whatever he wants. Pretty double standard to me, to be honest.
At this point in time, how much money have you invested into this, and what other alleged lies or claims allegedly were coming up?
At the point of time, honestly, we didn't really realize. We just realized there's character flaws and a lack of business acumen and basic common sense in how you operate. But there's really nothing like digging into like what he said, like, because as I said, when we first met him, the whole relationship was really good. Like he was like always providing value. He was humble. He's charismatic, he's nice, he's caring, he loves bomb you and all that stuff, right? And I honestly like, I'm a kind of guy, if I partner up with you, I'll go all in. I'll defend you, I'll protect you. I even defended him against my friends. So the fun fact here, just to kind of like, sidetrack a little bit, when I brought Luke Belmar to my brother's wedding, he was also invited to kind of like our circle of friends after party the next day. which was gonna held in Sentosa, like a really nice chill, the beachfront beach club. And we had pretty much our closest friends. And, I have a really good circle of friends, very successful people, high net worth people, grounded people. And Luke and his brother and his wife was there, right? And after that gathering, 3 of my super best friends sent me a fucking essay. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you, Jeff. They sent me an essay, like long message, like warning me of like the red flags of Luke, right? It's like, oh, I would be more than happy to share that with you. But in hindsight, looking back, I was like, I defended him against my best friends. I was like, oh, maybe you guys are all ultra successful. Maybe Luke is feeling a little bit a stranger to the group, right? He's not feeling very comfortable. That is why he probably needs to puff up himself more to be more comfortable or probably on the same level as you guys, right? So I kind of like, I saw the red flag, but I didn't really thought it was a big deal at the point of time. So yeah, that kind of led into subsequently everything.
How much at that time? I'm sorry to interrupt it, and and if you want, I can go off the court documents.
No.
How much did you invest by then with Luke into Luke in the when it was formed in Wyoming was capital.
Yeah. I think in the early days, I think we both put in 100,000 each initially, right? That was kind of like the plan. And subsequently, like, the company start running into cash flow problems, right? Because we haven't launched and we don't have any income stream. So I think I loaned the company 200K, 300K at one point. I just kind of like, without him even knowing, I think he knows. I told him, like, I say, company is running out of cash flow. I just put in a few 100,000 more. And a fun fact to kind of share with you as well, we have an external third party like accounting firm, right? So when they were telling and sharing the news, like, hey guys, like you guys are running into cash flow problems, I was like, and I immediately, without hesitating, I sent in another $150,000 cash the next day. And those advisors personally told me, like, fuck, Steve, you're a great partner. Like, you don't have paperwork and you're a fucking baller, right? I said, no, that's kind of how I support my partners, right? Because if we're in this together, you do whatever it takes, right? And it's not a lot of money, to be honest, to kind of build a new business. So I think at a point of time, when the first crack happened, I think I was probably into, in total, probably around 300,000-400,000, okay. Like at a point of time. Yeah.
Okay. Were there specific? Okay. There's a lot going on here, man. There's a lot going on. I feel like
Take your time.
It's like spinning plates, and I really want to make sure the audience understands everything that's going on here, because you're not a guy that is used to being taken advantage of at all. Like,
that's
you're
right.
Like let's look at it this way. You're one of the smartest guys in the room. On a global ecom basis, you're it. And your brother and you have worked very hard, to get those accolades. And I'm not puffing you up. That's just the truth. The numbers don't lie. So for this guy to come in and he kicks in some money, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate in this thing. He kicks in some money, you do. Next thing you know, we've got some cash shortages that we're running on. So like, okay, here's 150. Great. So red flag. He shows up to your brother's wedding, and 3 of your dearest friends write literally a War and Peace essay, length about him to you, and you're like, it's okay. You know what? This is a long-term thing. Maybe he felt uncomfortable there, and just mixed messages and things got crossed, which I totally get, by the way. I totally get that, but I want to fast forward into, and this is I'm on page 5 of the court docs. Mr. Tan invested more than 4.15 million into the business, including 3.1 million for media, marketing, infrastructure, and events, nearly 1 million in payroll, and $340,000 plus worth of interest-free loans to the business. When Capital Club, and I'm going up to section 32. When Capital Club first opened for selling an annual membership to the public in October of 2023, Capital Club generated more than $2.2 million in revenue. With subsequent sales in November and December, the business grossed over $4.2 million in 3 months. What were the conversations going on at that point in time in November, December of 2023 with Luke? With now, you'd put a substantial amount in, money started to, getting thrown back. Was there ever a talk about, disbursement check or some type of, payment back to you for your initial investments?
We actually got, so when the sales starts coming in, like we immediately refunded like everybody for the investments, right? So Luke's initial investment, my initial investment, my loans to the company were all cleared and prioritized first, right? That was kind of our initial investment. But I want to share a fun fact here as well. So like, would you say, Jeff, like if we did over like 3-4 million for a launch, it's pretty decent?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, but as a matter of fact, I got so much shit from Luke Belmar for doing a $4 million launch, right? But the thing here was he has a lot of unrealistic expectations, not knowing how the businesses work, right? So I want to share the story because I felt it's important, because like people would be happy with a 100, 200K launch, right?
Absolutely.
We did like 500K in the first 30 minutes, right? And I had personal relationships with Stripe and a lot of payment processors, but at the point of time, we're using a $1 billion startup CRM. I don't really want to say the name here for the software because we're in good terms right now.
It's okay.
But I wouldn't expect a $1 billion software would have an integration bug with the payment processor. So, and we're not only selling in US, we're selling internationally, right? So there was something called the 3DS integration issue with the payment processor, right? So initially, we already had all the US payment processors all lined up. As a matter of fact, we have multiple payment processors as backups, right? But we have a launch date to go for, right? So out of no choice to ensure that we can have a really smooth launch, I reached out to Stripe, right, which I have a personal relationship with. So they promised us, okay, no problem on the volumes. I told them like we're looking at $5 to $10 million launch, like we don't want any hiccups, and they said no problem. We have greenlighted this all from you. So first day we launched, we did a little over like a couple of $100,000, $200,000-$300,000, but we kind of capped it, right? We kind of capped it, so we don't want to. Then second day, third day, and we started releasing more people into like the memberships, and we did about the $500,000 like in probably less than an hour, and so much sales were coming in because people were so sold on the vision of what we're trying to do at Capital Club, and like we had a spike in sales, and our payment processors got flagged, so all the sales were being rejected, and that was really stressful, right? There was the time when I realized that like, people with no experience, they're all just kind of like talking down on you during critical times, when what you should be doing at the point of time is like, don't panic, stay grounded, right? Stay grounded. What's the solution, right? As I was trying to sort things out, Luke was calling me like, what the fuck's going on, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bro, I'm handling it, okay? I'm handling it, right? So after this whole incident, didn't really, of course, it affected the launch in some ways, but it was not expected because I thought the personal relationship with Stripe would have helped, right? So after the whole incident, we had a big quarrel during then because he was blaming me everything. Oh, you fucked up big time, bro. Like da da da. And I was like, yeah, I realized I did, but it's nothing. It's people who has done big numbers, they would have known this is kind of common, right? There's no guarantee that the payment processor is not going to shut you down, right? Besides, it's not like we failed the launch. We did a couple of $1 million, right? So to answer back your question, did we do any distribution? So we were supposed to do a $1.2 million distribution within the company, right? But then our financial advisors advise, like, probably we shouldn't pull out the money so soon because it might put the company in cash flow tight issues given the overheads that we have, right? So what Luke decided is like, oh, I really needed the money. I don't care. I don't care. I want the $600,000. And I was like, okay, sounds weird for someone that has 40 million in net worth. So me and my brother were talking like, it doesn't, you're not behaving or acting like someone that has $40 million because I don't need the $600,000, right? So, but I think the bigger red flag that I saw was he laid the entire blame of the launch on me that I fucked up for a multi-million-dollar launch, right? So I wasn't able to so he forced the finance to pull out the $600,000 while I was stuck without being able to pull out the funds, which I was okay, to be honest. Like I was okay because I'm seeing this Capital Club long term. So I had my money stuck, which resulted in all this drama because he used that as a hostage of all my money that was stuck with the company because I left the cash flow there so that the company can continuing paying the payrolls, everything with the $600,000 while he retook the $600,000. But at the point of time, I felt really strange because like you don't need 40 million. Maybe if you already have like $5-6 million cash, you wouldn't be so desperate for a $600,000 and you wouldn't be behaving in such a way. So that kind of raised a little bit of red flags, but it's not substantial enough for us to dig deeper into it because I was like, okay, like we just did a launch. I think it's okay. The community is happy. The product's there. We put in a lot of effort trying to build like a masterclass platform for entrepreneurs, right? So that's kind of like the story, sidetrack a little bit for your context.
No, that's perfect. If somebody, allegedly Luke Belmar says that he has a $40 million net worth, he would have a growth mindset. And $600,000-$700,000 is a blip, especially when you're doing especially when you're doing a launch. That these things are going to happen, and that, and you're supposed to. You should be long playing this.
Exactly,
right?
I totally agree because I would say like if you're on a certain level of net worth, the way you're seeing things is very different from like it's like you're seeing things from 10th floor and 40th floor. It's very your view is very different. Right. And your vision is very different. Right. And your game plan is also very different. So I'm super surprised, to be honest. Like when he said, oh, I needed to buy a house. I was like, I thought you had a $4 million house. He said, oh, it's not. What I do with my finances is none of your problems. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So it's just kind of like the back and forth, like a lot of mini red flags, which like didn't really kind of like bother us, to be honest. We just realized it's probably okay. It's probably who he is, but we also realized at the same time that ego is inflating, right? The ego is slowly creeping up. So sorry, I wouldn't say you slowly, it's accelerating, right? The whole ego curve is like going out of control, right? So yeah.
When did you really figure out that it wasn't just ego, it was allegedly calculated manipulation?
I think when we started piecing things up, I think it was the moment when he got exposed hard last year. I think it was around May 2024 last year. Right. He got exposed so hard. Right. People have full proof of his name. His name is Luke Tice. Right. I already know his name was Luke Tice, but he told me the same bullshit story that he told everybody. Right. So, but that whole expose was so detailed and so rough for him. But at the same time, I was still there for him. Like, I still came up with the PR crisis strategy for him. I told him what to do. I guided him. I supported him through his bad mindset at point of time. But that really prompted me and Barbara was and we're already having conversations. I was like, if people are exposing him so hard, there usually is a reason behind it. Right. So, but at the point of time, with all these things stacking up, I was really it's really very fishy. Right. So that prompted us to start doing our extended, detailed due diligence. Right. And before we were talking just now, before the recording, right, I told you I was in US for kind of a detox trip, right? And I was meeting a lot of people in Capital Club meetups. I was meeting a lot of vendors, and I was meeting a lot of pretty high level entrepreneurs, I would say, people that has really seen a lot of success, a lot of maturity and their business. And I hear an entirely different story with what's being painted to me by Luke Belmar, right? And a lot of people express the concern and caring concern for me is like, why, Steve, why are you working with this guy? I was like, what's wrong? I think I felt because we were kind of if you're kind of stuck in a relationship, sometimes you don't really see what's out in the outside world. You're kind of blinded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in US, I've met so many people and I started realizing, oh shit, it doesn't seem like the persona and what we were fed and what we were seeing across the content that Luke is shooting is aligned with who he is as a person, right? So, but we honestly, we didn't really like drama. I'm already 40, right? So I'm of a certain age. I've been through a lot. I would say I'm pretty grounded. I hate drama, right? In no preference would I always choose drama over settling things in peace. So that is when I really decided to want to part ways with Luke Belmar after he got exposed. And that is when everything starts building up, the tension within the company, how he treated us, how he disrespected us in front of our team members, so a lot of things starts to not add up, right? Whatever he says. And I just want to say here as well, as a CEO of the company, of course, I'll check his content from time to time, but he's the main accountability in a sense whereby he films the content. Of course, we'll brainstorm with him what kind of contents, but he's kind of free flow, right? He's really good at talking, so he free flows his content, right? So it's not like we fact check every single thing he's talking in his vlogs or whatever. Or then it's when we started wanting to leave, I asked, because my brother managed the entire distribution team, right? The Clippers, the internal team, the external team that we have. So we started asking the people within within the internal team to start, hey guys, do you think there's anything incongruent, or you guys think there's something fishy, or about what he's talking online? And we compiled probably 100 clips, right? For they prepared 100 clips for me to review. And then when I was reviewing it, I was like, oh my fucking God, fuck. There's a lot of things that was being said that I don't think it's true, right? So that is when we started realizing something's not right.
When did you hear or were aware of Luke Belmar starting up Gem Hunters?
I think it was late 2023. That was probably a couple of months after we launched Capital Club, right? So I definitely objected it, right? So I was like, but he only shared with me when it's already almost ready, right? He was like, oh, I'm going to be launching this. I was like what?
I thought, hold on, because again, I thought he said that he was going to be dedicating his entire life to Capital Club.
Exactly, right? So that's the thing that really triggers us the most, because I'm not here for a quick cash grab. I honestly don't need that in my life right now. Like I'm trying to build something for the next 10 years, right? If I want a fast crash grab, I'll probably do something else, right? I'll probably throw in some money, invest in some investments or or whatever is hot with crypto, right? Why would I want to start? It's a lot of work, Jeff. It's really a lot of work to rebuild a platform from scratch. I was there right when Capital Club doesn't even have a logo, right? And it's like, there's a saying in Mandarin called 站着说话不腰疼. It means that it's so easy to be just standing up to say, to command and want things, right? It's so easy. You don't get any back pain just telling people what you need, right? It's easy to say, but who can really execute this, right? So yeah, there was a lot of resentment for sure, a lot of frustrations when someone expects you and your brother, who are both seasoned entrepreneurs in the space, to put in their full time while he gets to do things on his own.
And I'm reading from the court document. While still operating as Mr. Tan's business partner in Capital Club, defendant Luke began developing a competing internet-based business offering called Gem Hunters. Gem Hunters is a subscription-based online membership community marketed as an investment and wealth-building society. Members pay recurring fees in exchange for access to information about stock picks, cryptocurrency projects, and other speculative investments that defendants promoted as hidden gems. So he basically bastardized, allegedly, what he was doing with you with Capital Club and started up Gem Hunters. Correct?
Super on point. Yes.
Okay. Without disclosing this to Mr. Tan, defendant Luke used Capital Club's intellectual property, marketing access, and personnel to build out this separate enterprise. Fuck and you, allegedly, is what he was doing. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. At what point, when all this, as the Jews say, mishigas, is going on, at what point did you just say, I'm done, I want to get out of this?
I think it was a little over a month after he got exposed on Twitter. That was when we decided, fuck this. It's so painful working with someone who's so toxic, right? Who gaslights you all the time, right? I'm not sure if you've watched the clip that I've posted about our conversation, because it doesn't make sense. Why would I continue to fund his personal brand with the company's money, which is technically my money, right? No, nonstop into his personal brand. And he gaslights me by saying, are you jealous? It seems like it. You're trying to eat off the plate that you have done nothing for. Word for word, that is what he said. And he said it in such a condescending way. It's so unbearable, Jeff. I've been through a toxic relationship before. This is so much way more toxic, to be honest.
In any way, shape, or form, did you believe that he still had good intentions at this point in time?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And it goes back again to, what was he claimed, 40 million net worth?
40 million net worth.
Right. Again, I have friends with an M after their name, and I have friends with a B after their name, and they think and act in a different way, and they carry themselves 100%. In a different way. There's really no bravado there. There's no beating on the chest. The thing I've always noticed about really ultra high net worth people is when they walk into a room, everyone knows who they are. Everyone else, when someone of a lower class in terms of socioeconomic status, when they walk into a room, they're beating on their chest, telling you who they are.
Very on point.
So I think that's, again, allegedly, that's what seems to be happening. So can you walk me through what happened in the days before this whole thing, like the deal was supposed to close, and you talked and said, okay, there's going to be a buyout, and we're going to, let's just get this thing over with. You wanted to get out of that thing with obviously your investment and a nominal return, and just move, and probably because you're a good guy, you just wanted to move on, right?
100%. Yeah, more than happy to share this part. I think this is where the juiciest part is going to be. Are you ready, Jeff?
Fire away, my friend.
Yeah. So he flew down to Malaysia, right? And we negotiated an amount, which is also on the lawsuit complaint, which you guys could reference to. And we shook hands. He's going to buy us out. So after that, subsequently, he's like, okay, we need to start transferring everything to him, right? What he meant by transferring means like, oh, we need to transfer our know-hows because we pretty much run the teams. Everybody within the company reports to either me or my brother, right? So it's like, oh, you need to transfer in all the know-hows, the softwares and whatnot. So my brother was questioning my decision. And I was like, okay, like I said, finally, we got a deal, right? And then he said he's going to send us a term sheet, right? Which he did. And guess what? Within the term sheet has such one-sided terms and for the buyout, right? So let me give you an example of what's within those term sheets. I think if my memory doesn't fail me, I think there's 250 names of people within the industry, including people like that are pretty known in the online space. Maybe like if you guys are familiar, like I would think so. Like, Iman Ghazi, Grant Cardone, just kind of like random people that he doesn't even know himself, right? And he also had a blanket ban on people that I can't work with. Any creators under the age of 40 years old. Let me say that again. 250 names plus a blanket ban on any creators that's below 40. I think he's extremely afraid that I'm going to work with Iman Ghazi because with what I have, like I can definitely, scale Iman Ghazi to another level at a point of time because we were technically competing with Iman Ghazi and Andrew Tate at a point of time, right? We overtook Iman Ghazi in terms of like distribution views within like probably like 6 months, right? And we were scaling extremely fast. We went from so much behind to overtaking and scaling ahead.
The deal was supposed to close.
Okay.
Right.
So
what
he
happened?
Sent me,
you've got the term sheet.
I remember.
Everything's there.
Yep. Yeah. So I received the term sheet, and immediately that was kind of like when we started handing on some of the softwares over to him, right? And then when I received the term sheet, I was like, "Fuck! Like this guy is out to fuck us. Like there's no sincerity at all. You're trying to ban Steve and his brother from working with any creators at all in the entire space, right?" And he included things like, oh, you cannot build your own community, you cannot do your masterminds, you cannot do info. That is when I sent him a text. Like I was like, bro, like what's this? What's this bullshit? Like, right? I was like, you're adding like he's like, oh, like you cannot be working with people on things that Capital Club developed. I said, not Capital Club developed. Steve Tan developed the entire strategies, the entire systems that is what contributed in the extremely fast scaling of your personal brand. I was like, I invested my personal own money. I went to China. I went to Singapore. I paid a lot of people a lot of money to mastermind, to strategize, to bring back all those goodies back to Capital Club. And you wanted to ban me from doing all of that? It's crazy. So after that, we had a mini breakdown, right? When we had the mini breakdown, I started realizing, we were being kicked out of all the softwares, right? Critical softwares. And behind my back, he started removing me from super admin, right? Sneakily, very sneaky, I received an email from Google, like, you have been replaced as a super admin. And then when I switched it back, he has the audacity to tell his lawyers that I'm fucking up the business, that, oh, Steve removed us from admin so the company cannot function. I was like, bro, like you don't need super admin to function. And I was like, I was the original super admin. You guys are doing sneaky shit behind my back. He's like, no, you're the liar, like da. And he started calling me names. Oh, you're Pinocchio. Like, oh, you promise you're going to hand over all these things. I was like, bro, let's follow the process. It's basic business principles to only transfer everything when we sign the deal, right? Basic common sense, right, Jeff?
How did it feel?
So
Let me ask you this, Steve,
yeah,
because it's just been burning in me. Because you've talked about how you've built this thing. It's your baby, and you did it with Luke and your brother. But how did it feel when you start getting locked out of something that you helped build from scratch?
it's extremely painful. It's I felt really, really hurt, mentally drained, and backstabbed. It wasn't easy, honestly, to be honest. I've done so much personal development, counseling, healing to just get over this for the last 1 year. Like I treated Luke Belmar like my younger brother, right? It wasn't easy. Like it took probably 5 years before I let him into my life, right? It felt really sad because like it could have been so much better. Like there was a lot of potential for building like a very empowering network of entrepreneurs from around the world. But when the visions got blurred, right, and the greed, the fame, the money got into someone else, it probably corrupted his values or revealed his true colors. You know,
When did you realize the public image didn't match who he really was?
I think there was a lot of like incidents that happened, right? The earliest red flag that we saw was he was extremely verbal abusive to Nate Belmar, right? He would call him names. He would like he would call him like you're a fucking piece of shit. You're a loser, like you're so lazy, like, because I hang out with him so much, right? And I was like, dude, go easy on your brother, right? Like I would never ever say those kind of things to my brother, regardless of how angry I am. There is a boundary that of the things that you say. That was kind of the first red flag. And, at the point of time, I think me and my brother discussed, I was like, fuck, if he could treat his own blood brother like this, who are we to him? I think that's one question that we started pondering, right? And I think the defense that I came up with, don't worry, Evan, we're his mentors, like he has a lot of respect for us. I don't think that's going to happen. Right. And that persona was maintained for a period of time. Then we started spotting more red flags on how he treats his wife, right? How he treats his father. His father was actually a consultant for Capital Club, in terms of like, some operation stuff. Dude, he fired his father from Capital Club just because his father said something that he didn't like to listen, right? And the worst part was, I remember there was a time when he was at my place, at my house. And I think his wife, Lara, actually called him for help. And he was in the middle of like a lunch with me, my brother, and my brother's wife, right? And he was extremely upset with like, that the wife called and request for help for some probably simple stuff. And guess what? He hanged up the phone and a few words came out. Fucking dumb bitch. That's how he called his wife. Me and my brother, Amber, my brother's wife, I was like, jaw drop. I was like, what the hell? What the hell happened? Like, you called someone so close to you a fucking dumb bitch? Like, that's like, fuck, man. Like, if you do that in Asia, you're probably gonna face a divorce. If your wife hears that. The amount of disrespect and how egoistic this person is like, it's crazy. Like, but I think he did it intentionally to show how masculine he is or who's the man at the house. And that's ego. Ego is the enemy. So when he started talking to people like that, and I was like, oh shit, like something's not adding up, right? Something about his family persona is not adding up.
What's the biggest lie you've seen him tell publicly or privately?
I think his net worth is definitely BS, 100%. I can be I'll probably swear my life on this, right? I'll swear my life on this that 100% his net worth is bullshit, right? I think, as you said, Jeff, like someone operating at a 40 million net worth wouldn't behave or operate like this because you don't really need the money. Like for me, honestly, if it's for money, I wouldn't even start Capital Club. It's too much fucking work. It's too much work. It's a lot of work. Working with so many people, community members, internal team members, distribution. There's a lot of manpower, Jeff. It's not easy running such a big operation, right? And I already have like existing all this business that was taking care of my well-being because I wasn't taking a salary at Capital Club. I wasn't paid a single cent all the way till I got knows when. I haven't been paid, right? So it's extremely frustrating to see. And it's also extremely humbling to realize that people can change or people can actually have such an amazing show, amazing act to lure you in. So I noticed a lot of all these small things, but when we only started piecing things up, probably I would say June last year, right? June last year when we really sat down with my brother, I was like, we're not happy. We're not happy in this business. Why are we still here? Like, we don't really need the money. Like, it's peanuts, right? It's peanuts for the amount of work that we're doing and contributing. And we're so miserable and working with someone that's so not aligned, someone that doesn't have business acumen, someone that's all talks. I was like, why? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And I realized it's because that's not our vision. Whatever he's doing is not our vision. And that's when we realize something's extremely off and we have to do something about it.
We
want to leave. Yeah.
Was there a moment, Steve, that finally pushed you over the edge?
I think the jealous part was like, that was like too much. I was like, bro, like, are you fucking serious? Like, you were like, I'm not saying it in a condescending way, but like, you were technically not anyone when you first reached out to me in 2018. I still remember this day, June 2018. He was a nobody. He was broke, right? But of course, he put on a really good show, right? And to think that someone that has so much faith, so much support, who defended you against your best friends, my best friends, it hurts. It fucking hurts. Like I blame myself for the longest time. I was like, what the fuck, Steve? What a poor judgment of a person that you have to believe in somebody like that.
What has this entire ordeal done with the relationship you have with your brother?
I think that's a great question, Jeff. That's one of the biggest benefits because we became even tighter and stronger. But I think I want to touch base a little bit more about the whole buyout, right? So when what happened was we shook on the deal. Like he sent us a ridiculous term sheet. So relationship broke down. Like he locked me out. He kicked me out of all the super admin. And I started going on holidays, right? I was like, fuck this shit, man. I'm going to go on holiday. So I went on a long trip in China. I went to Yunnan, right? I went on a 3 weeks holiday. Right. And after that, I got back, like I met one of my friends, I'm not religious. Like, as a matter of fact, I don't have a religion. Right. Like, but I'm spiritual. I believe in God. Right. So one of my friends told me, pray to God, Steve, pray to God and things will be fine. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, I'll do a prayer. I'll just pray to the universe. Right. I was like, universe, please, help me resolve this this ordeal. Like, I want to kind of wrap things up. And miraculously, a miracle happened. I received a 3-minute voice note from Luke Belmar saying he's sorry. He loved me. His shame, like he's so sorry. I have the entire voice memo. I could share it with you, like if you want to play it in the future. And I was like, okay, wow, this is working. I need to pray more, right? I was like, fuck, I need to pray more. And I was like, oh my God, finally. And we jump on a call. It was a great call. It was a great call. It's like, I was like, both of us are so dumb. We blow things out of proportion. Like at the same time, we saw Grant Cardone and his partner, Gary Brecka, had the whole Fallout thing. And I told him, bro, I'm so grateful that we didn't blow it up of proportion, like kind of like how those guys did, right? And it's like, yeah, bro, appreciate you. I wouldn't be where am I without your help. I'm so grateful, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, finally. All right, let's get this over and done. He's like, don't worry, bro. Like, we're going to get this resolved within the month, right? And then at the point of time, I was going to Japan, right? So that was around like January. Like, we're supposed to close and get paid in January. Right. So the deal was sealed, everything confirmed, like nothing's changed, like the same deal was the same of what we discussed, except he said, okay, like I'm going to review this. He pushed all the blame of the non-compete to his people, right? Which is not uncommon, right? He always pushes blame to everybody except himself. So what happened was from January, he kept pushing back. Oh, like the agreement's not ready. So I was like, bro, like what else do you need? He said, oh, I need the financials, blah, blah, blah. I got him the financials within 1 week because I know, like, I manage the finances and everything, right? Got him the finances and he kept giving excuses like, oh, like I didn't receive it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bro, like I created a group chat. I pulled in the financial advisors, himself, his wife into the group chat. So he can't deny. Because he would always push the blame to other people. So when we're in a group chat, I was like, bro, like it's audited, all the numbers were verified by the financial advisors. Okay, let's get this over and done with. Right. He said, okay, bro, I'm gonna get this resolved. Wait for my contract. From January, we're supposed to be paid. We're supposed to be already paid because like in October last year, that's when the first tranche is gonna come in. Right. We agreed to a drastically reduced buyout of $1.2 million as shown in the lawsuit. Why? Because we just want to get the fuck out. We want to move on. We don't want to be stuck in this toxic relationship. All right, done. All right, whatever. Just pay us. All right. So from January, he dragged on the contract to June, which was supposed to be the second tranche of the 1.2 million. So he wanted 3 tranches, 400K each time, right? First tranche was due in October last year. So we were supposed to be paid 800K on some date on June. So 1 week before that date, we still had a call, like to confirm the deal. Everything's going through. Everything's great. He said, okay, don't worry, bro. Like, we're going to get this resolved. Like, I'm going to be paying you on those days, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get the first 800K. I need an extra 30 days for the last tranche, which is the last 400K, right? Which is like, he wanted 2 more months. I was like, bro, you wanted, like, why changing the goalpost? He's like, oh, like they'll go, don't Chinese me on this, like give me some slack, I can turn that 400K into $1 million with trading, yada, yada. I was like, bro, come on. And we negotiate, okay, I'll give you an extra month. All right, just an extra month. We agreed on that. Okay, fine. That was 1 week from being paid 800K, right? We were led to believe we were being paid and everything would be signed because we choked on it. 3 days from the buyout of the 800K, he sent me a long text. Sorry, bro. Like, we crunched the numbers with finance. Like, due to market conditions, I can buy you out. I'm not going to be proceeding with the buyout. But at this point in time, he has all the controls. He held hostage of all the funds, including the rebills. Right? There was rebills coming in because he dragged on so long, and there was already a rebill. Right? The rebill was over 7 figures. So what happened was like, and the whole communication was, I was just like, what the fuck? I said, bro, it doesn't make sense. you buying me out for our efforts, our time for the last 2 years of me and my brother's time has absolutely nothing to do with the market conditions. You're buying this out of your own pocket. And it was like, he's giving all sort of excuse, which doesn't even make any sense at all because I was so grounded at a point of time. I was like, bro, it doesn't make sense. He's like, oh, I put in, and he started, like how a narcissist does things, they'll start pulling random shit into the picture. It's like, oh, you don't know, I have never, like I've invested millions of dollars into like the company with my own money. I was like, show me the money, show me the bills. It's like, oh, like I don't have to show you all this. I don't have to show you my personal finances. I was like, no, like you mentioned that you poured in millions. Where's the millions? And then I said, let me tell you, your wife reimbursed shit like $1 to $5 Uber Eats into the company. Don't fucking tell me that you invested millions out of your own pocket into the company. I do not fucking believe you. Right? Wow. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous. Like this guy thought because he's Luke Belmar and because of all the fame he has, I'm gonna be like manipulated by you. At this point of time, I'm really seeing so clear. I'm grounded. So no bullshit. I was like, no, bro, it doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, like like I just want to let you know, like it's not gonna change anything. And then what happened was I said, send me the finances. I said, before you want to pitch. So he wanted me to get back into the game with him. Like, I was like, he sent me, oh, let's, like we're still married to this thing. Like, Steve, we should continue like running this community. I was like, fuck no, hell no. I want to get out. We have our life to live. And the thing here is like, I want to get out because I don't want to be associated with you in any shape or form. He doesn't know that because I've discovered so much things. Right. And then what happened was he sent me his financials, the company's financials, which I also labeled in the lawsuit. It's sometimes funny because like you're dealing with someone that's not very good at business, but acts like one, right? For someone that has been an entrepreneur since 2006, I think I'm pretty okay. Like, I think I know my shit, in terms of finances, the books, but it's such irony that like, your partner doesn't know shit. And in the complaint, I alleged that they cooked the books, right? They started manipulating the books. Which is why I've decided this guy's, it's like, too much. It's really too much. It crossed the line. Not only you're not trying to pay me for what you agreed upon, you're trying to siphon, allegedly, the money that was also in the company, right? And that really crossed the line, Jeff. It's like, it's too much. Like that goes against any form of business principles, ethics. I've never, ever encountered someone like this before in my life.
You filed lawsuit against him and his wife and any entities associated with this on his side on September 11th of 2025. Where is the lawsuit at right now?
I can't explicitly talk about the lawsuit, Jeff. I think, but I think right now we're in the midst of. We just filed it. We just kind of filed the lawsuit. So we just completed serving him, which he was dodging service initially. So it took us a while before we were able to finally find him and cornered him into accepting service for the lawsuit. Yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything that you haven't talked about that you want? I have one more thing, but is there anything else that you and I haven't talked about that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that really kind of like pissed us off, and as you know, like, we were pretty silent about the whole lawsuit because, like, at this age, you want as drama as possible, right? You want to spend as much time in your Zen zone, um, crunching and brainstorming on new business. But I really got triggered when one day my best friend actually sent me a screenshot, right, of Luke Belmar preaching about purity, preaching about God, man of God, and whatnot. And immediately, like, it triggered the fuck out of me, right? And I was like, come on, come on. Like, man of God operating like this? Fuck you. Like, it's bullshit. Right. So I posted something on my Instagram. What an asshole he is, right? In saying things like that. Because I feel it's an entirely fake persona to use God as a fake mask. I feel it's extremely unethical to use God to paint a fake persona. If you're really religious, it's totally fine. I don't care. But if you use God, a religion, to preach to all the people, you're a fake preacher, essentially, right? And that is why it kind of got me to start talking about this whole thing, right? Which is why I posted, because it really crossed the line. Initially, all right, lawsuit, I don't even want to make a deal about it, to be honest, right? Because, like, why? Because it's draining. Like, to be honest, like, this whole thing is a mental game, right? This whole process is going to drag out for long, right? God knows how many years, right? But when it started really crossing the line, it's like, how much longer do you want to continue this, like, fake lie, the fake persona that you have been putting on, the imposter syndrome, or whatever you guys call it? And that really, like, triggered me to kind of, like, talk about it, because honestly, like, people have been asking me, like, Steve, oh, he's a scammer. Like, why don't you talk about it earlier? I was like, I only know it, like, not long ago. Like, would I, like, I when this whole drama started, I was extremely shocked and humbled and grateful for the amount of support that I've received online, especially on X. I've been pretty much incognito, like, behind the scenes for the last few years, because, like, like, let the young boys have their fame, the time to shine. Like, people, like, I kind of see myself old. Like, I just want to be chill, do my biohacking, my stem cells, like, chill, focus on health, family, friends, kind of thing. Why would I want to go fight someone that has tens of millions of followers? Like, I thought I'm gonna just, like, be knocked out in one punch, right? So people are asking me, like, if you already knew. So, like, I already had a reputation in the space, and I would say it's pretty clean and pretty well. Like, I'm kind of proud, to be honest, like, to have, like, such pristine reputation in the space. And I only knew it when I came out this time, for the amount of support that I had with the industry. Like, people in ecom, industry leaders, business owners, followers, fans, they gave me massive support. It was like, good for you, Steve. Like, I support you against this fight against the bully. Why would I want to choose, if I knew, Jeff, right from the start, that this would happen? I would definitely not work with him, right? Why would I put my reputation on the line? Why would I put in my time, my blood, sweat, and tears, my know-hows into somebody that is a, quote unquote scammer? I wouldn't do that if I knew right from the beginning. It's kind of like, as I love to kind of, quote it, like, it's like a girlfriend, right? Everyone puts on their best show, like, initially, not authentic, right? Oh, like, I'm this, I'm that, until you got on, until you guys are sleeping together on the same bed, you start realizing, oh shit, things are cracking. The real self is showing itself slowly by slow, like, step by step. And that was when I realized, like, fuck, the universe must be telling me something, because I had 2 back-to-back relationships with people that are narcissists, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good reflection, to be honest, right? Going through this whole experience, and I honestly couldn't be more grateful, to be honest, because like I cannot imagine if I'm stuck in this toxic relationship and business partnership for the next few years. So we mustered the courage. I know, like, lawsuits are expensive in the US, anywhere, right? If it didn't cross the line, do you think someone like me, I'm kind of like my name is kind of associated with chill. Steve is pretty chill. Like Steve is chill. Like he's fun to hang out with, like easygoing. Like yeah. So I wouldn't do that, Jeff, honestly, to waste my mental headspace, money, if it didn't really cross the line.
I have one more question for you that I already asked you, and you answered a little bit, but I want you to really think about this. It's our last question. How has this entire experience affected your relationship with your brother?
I think it definitely propelled our relationship to the next level. As a fun fact, because of Luke Belmar, me and my brother, we had one of our biggest quarrels in our lifetime since we're all born, right? The biggest. Until the point whereby I told him, like, get the fuck out. Like, let's not, because we stayed together initially, right? I was like, no, like, move out. I don't want you guys in the house. That was the most harsh thing I've ever said to my own family members, right? But it's also a blessing in disguise, because what didn't kill us made us even stronger. Me, my brother, and Ember, my sister-in-law, we have the tightest relationship out of this whole ordeal because of Luke Belmar. And I couldn't be more grateful for the learnings and the blessings in disguise out of this painful experience. But every painful experience hidden within are benefits to push you over to the next level, to ground yourself, right? For you to see both sides. So yeah, that's kind of like how I would describe my relationship with my brother. And my brother has been the biggest supporter, the listening ear, and someone that I'll trust my life with, right? Someone that we would always do everything together. Yeah.
I think, and the reason why I asked is you can't put a price on family, right? Money comes and goes. You can always make more money, but family is family. And
Yes.
I was hoping that was the answer I was going to get from you when I asked it, is you can take all this and push it aside, and whatever happens with the lawsuit is meaningless. The fact that it has drawn you and your brother and your sister-in-law closer together, making you and it's like you're the Avengers, the three of you. And you are literally bulletproof, having come through this ordeal, regardless of the lawsuit. Regardless of the lawsuit. I commend you for that, as someone that has been diving into all this to prepare for our conversation. And whenever, if ever, you want to come back and do a part 2, let me know, and we will part heaven and earth to make that happen, my friend. You have an open invitation for dinner in Las Vegas with my wife and I anytime you want.
I love that.
For us to break bread and have a good time. But I wish you, just patience. I wish you good health. I wish you clarity of mind as you undertake this. I know that you have several people close to you that will, cross an ocean of fire for you. And it's times like this is when you find out truly, it's like the Knights of the Round Table. You find out who your knights are. And I think you're finding that out now. And you should be praised for that, my friend. It's good stuff.
Thank you, Jeff. I think you're super on point with this. Absolutely. Like, definitely see who's really on your side, right? And you truly see, like, as a matter of fact, I just got back from Maldives, and it was such an amazing time. Like, I really feel extremely loved, extremely grateful for all my friends. Like, people would usually be blessed with, one or two best friends. I have a lot of best friends, and I'm truly, truly grateful for all the support from my best friends. Quick shout out to everybody there. And of course, like to my followers, my supporters, and people who seek the truth. Right? I believe from the bottom of my heart, authenticity is very important, especially when you want to be a public figure, right? And I'm not perfect. I'm still human. I have my emotions. Definitely have like my pros and cons. But I believe if you truly want to be authentic, like you have to be who you are online and who you are offline at the same time. I think that's what really grounds you, and to not become an imposter like online. And I think it's extremely important because like nowadays there's so much bullshit online, right? There's so much people trying to, like share wrong values, like, stepping on people, your friends, just to climb up the ladder. It's at the end of the day, we're all going to the same destination. There should be more love around the world. There should be more harmony. There should be more collaboration in this world that we're living in. So I definitely want to empower more people to open their eyes, right, to kind of see the truth, because like following the wrong people means setting your values wrong with the wrong person. So it's extremely important to really follow the right people in the space, and be guided and be shared with the right values and how they think and how they uphold themselves in real life. That's kind of what I want to share.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your authenticity and for your honesty and for your vulnerability. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, my
Appreciate you.
friend.
Thanks.
Take care.